Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Paranormal Axetivities with your host, Ben Axe. And today's episode is brought to you by Romer Skincare. Based out of Chicago, Romer launched a work-from-home clean skincare line that covers all of your skin needs with 3 easy-to-follow steps. Why should you check them out? Simple ingredients, effective results, and a perfect upgrade if you're anything like me and still washing your face with a bar of soap or that drugstore face wash. Right now, Romer Skincare is offering our listeners 15% off and a gift card with your first purchase. Just go to romerskincare.com, use promo code LISTENER15, and again, you'll get 15% off and a gift with your purchase. One last time, romerskincare.com, promo code LISTENER15, and impress your partner and get happy skin. All right, guys, and today's episode is going to be all about black-eyed children. I don't know if you've heard of them or not. It's something that I recently have come across and did a little bit of research on. It's creepy, it's scary, it's weird, and it's something that you may, if any of the lore that I have read, it's something you may not want to know about, but here we are. We know about them now. So let's just figure out what that is. And unfortunately, I was really hoping to get somebody here today to tell a first-hand story of an encounter with black-eyed children. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So it's just going to be me basically reciting some stories that I've heard, some stories that I've read, and then me also giving some opinions on what they may or may not be. But before that, for those of you who don't know, Paranormal Axetivities can be viewed anywhere, listened anywhere, and we're part of WTBdotcom, so check us out there. Excuse me. And I also recently just got a TikTok. So for all of you TikTok fans out there, you can hook me or listen to me over at Paranormal Axetivities on the TikTok. Again, I keep saying the TikTok, and that kind of shows my age and my generation, as I'm not really sure how TikTok works. But I feel like it's just like a new version of the Vine, or you guys remember Vine back in like 2014? Like, I feel like Facebook is to MySpace as TikTok is to Vine. But whatever. I have one. Look me up on there. So, yeah, guys. So, Paranormal Axetivities is a hoppin'. And we're also just got put on IMDb.com. It's not fancy looking yet. It's basically just my name on there with no pictures and no episode descriptions or anything like that. But I still think it's pretty cool that we are also on IMDb.com. Right, let's get rolling with the show. So, before we talk about the black-eyed children, let's talk about, for you, those of you who may not know, the activity of the week. Like I've said before, every episode is somebody's first episode, and my life has historically had a lot of paranormal activities going on throughout the week, and so I started a segment called the Activity of the Week, basically just saying what has happened in my life ghost-wise this week. And not a whole lot, guys. This past 2 weeks has been pretty slow. You know, we've been saging and that kind of stuff. I have two little things. The first thing happened just a few nights ago. Danae and I, my wife and I, were sitting in the bed watching TV, and we have 2 cats running around. We know we have basically 2 kittens. They're both pretty young now. I know I did an episode a couple of weeks ago about our older cat passing away. We have since gotten a new, younger version of that same cat. Looks very similar, but she is just a kitten. And I think both of our kittens now are roughly the same age. And so they've been running around and stuff. And for those of you who own cats, or you cat people out there like myself, you know the sound, the cat call. And I make that sound quite a bit as I talk to my cats quite a bit, because I'm a weird person. But my mom does it, my wife does it, every cat person I know does it. So you guys know the sound. Anyway, so we were just sitting there watching TV, and from the hallway, out of nowhere, we heard that sound. That sounded like somebody was standing right by our bedroom in the hallway and did that sound, that cat call, that. And it was so distinct and so loud that I heard it, but it's also something that I'm so used to hearing and doing that I didn't even really acknowledge that it happened. And then Danae was like, "Did you just hear that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did. It was very distinct, actually." And it was such a common sound that I do that I didn't even realize that I heard it outside of me and my wife in the middle of the night in our house. Well, evening, I would say. But yeah. And so it sounded like somebody was just catcalling one of the cats in the hallway. And obviously there's nobody else here. Animals can't make that sound. The dog was in the room with us. He can't do that. As far as I know, the other cats can't do that. So what it was, I have no idea. But it was loud and it was distinct. All right, and I have one more that just happened right before I begin recording this episode, actually. For my podcast to record it, I use a Rodecaster Pro. And a lot of you probably don't know what the fuck that is, but basically it's just something like a mixer, a recording mixer. And with it, I have 4 channels, and each channel is for a microphone. So microphone 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on the mixer, I can mute the channels, I can turn volume, I can control the volume on each microphone individually, that kind of stuff. And sometimes I have to use all 4 ports, depending on what I'm doing, whether it be RSH, whether it be marital nonsense, whether it be paranormal activities. But with this show, I generally only use one microphone. And I'm a weird, I would say minorly OCD person. And so if I'm not using all of the ports, I don't like having anything in the ports. So right now, I'm using the 4th port, channel 4. And because of that, I have nothing plugged into channel 1, 2, and 3. The microphone is not plugged in. There's nothing in the back ports. And I have them muted as well. Is that necessary? No. But I do it anyway because I'm, again, minorly OCD. And also, there's a little screen on the caster that you can see the volumes as you talk. So as I'm talking to the microphone right now, channel 4 lights up as I talk. And then it's nothing when I'm not talking. Well, as I was setting up tonight, I heard some static interference, and I looked down, and the channel 1 was lighting up like somebody was talking into a microphone that was plugged into it. And I'm not an expert when it comes into this stuff. It could be something else. You guys can tell me that, I guess, if you know about the electronics. But to my knowledge, it was muted, and there is nothing plugged into it. So how in the hell is that lighting up, and how is static coming out of it? Because I have no idea. That kind of blew my mind a little bit, and so I'm going to have to stage tonight because of that. But yeah, so those are my 2 paranormal activities of the week. If you have any insight or any knowledge of what could cause that kind of interference, and maybe what could even cause a cat call in my hallway, I would love to hear the non-paranormal explanations, because again, not everything's going to be paranormal. I understand that. So I'd love to hear the explanations. But all right, guys and gals, let's talk about the black-eyed children. Again, this is something I just kind of came across, and I was getting curious, and I went to social media a few times. I didn't get a whole lot of feedback from that. And that's okay. I understand. It's a weird time in life right now, and that's just going to happen. And I kind of changed this layout. I was going to read these stories off like I'm like a narrator podcaster or something. And as I tried to do that, I realized, 1, I suck at reading, and 2, I don't enjoy reading out loud. So instead of reading the stories verbatim, I read them. I've listened to a couple, and I'm just going to tell you guys from memory these stories. So if it sucks, I apologize, but that's just me. I couldn't sit here and read to you guys. It's just not my style. I get sleepy when I read. So for those of you who don't know what black-eyed children are, basically it's a phenomenon that started getting popular in the 90s, I guess. I guess 1996 was the year that a big story came out, but some mythologies believe it dates back further. But back in the 90s is when it really started getting some steam. And generally, black-eyed children are just that. They are children. And according to the Wikipedia, they are ages 6 to 16. But that being said, the stories that I have seen when it involves black-eyed children, they were generally younger than 16. I think 16 is a little bit old in my personal opinions, but what do I know? But yeah, so historically, ages 6 to 16, and the children are just that. They look just like regular kids. They have clothes. Their skin may be paler than your average child who's well-fed, I guess. But other than their eyes, everything is normal. But again, their eyes are completely black. There is no whites. It's not just like they're wearing black contacts. I mean, there was literally no whites in their eyes. Excuse me. And they apparently come and they ask for something. They ask to be let in, whether it be a house, a vehicle, a place of work. Whatever you're doing, whatever you have, they ask to be a part of it. And you have to let them in. for that to happen. They can't just walk into your house. They have to beg for you to let them in, and you have to, in fact, let them in. And right off the bat, when I heard that lore, that mythology of it, I'm thinking demons. Because aren't demons and angels, don't they have to be let in? Isn't that a thing, you know? But yeah, so that's the quick synopsis version of what black-eyed children are. They are weird kids with completely black eyes who try to get in your home or vehicle or wherever. And they often come as beggars. They come as people in need, kids in need, that kind of stuff. And so with all of that being said, I'm going to tell you guys one of the stories that I have read and I have heard multiple times actually over the past couple of years. I read about it a while back, and I recently began listening to another podcast called Uncle Josh's True Scary Stories, and he read that story on there as well. I'm like, as he was reading it, I was like, I've heard the story before. So it is in fact the same one. And then a few others as well. So I'll just tell you this one because it is one of the more popular ones. And again, just me telling the story. This is not as cool as me interviewing somebody or somebody who has a personal story on telling the story, which I definitely prefer. But again, this is life. So it was a lady and her husband. The way I understand, they were a little bit older. I can't tell you their ages, I guess. But it was just an older couple. They lived in a remote home, and they had 4 cats. In the middle of the night, and this is back in 1996, in the middle of the night, they heard knocking on their door. And they got up, and the husband answered the door. And there were 2 children, 2 little boys, saying that they need help and that their parents are coming. And the older couple, being, responsible adults, thought these children were in need, whether it be a car accident or something along those lines. So they let them in, and they brought them in. And they thought it was strange, but hey, they're little kids, they're in need, so they let them in. And they just kept asking what was going on. Are they hurt? Are they injured? Do they need help? And they just kept saying, our parents are on the way. Our parents are coming. And they said, okay. And then the wife went in to make them hot cocoa. And as she came back, the kids were standing up. And at this point, she noticed that the kids had pure black eyes. No whites, just all black. If you guys have seen Supernatural, you know how demons look in that show, how they just have pure black eyes. The exact same thing. So that startled her, as it would you. And another thing to note during this time, the husband of the household got a bloody nose all of a sudden. And as they said, he had never gotten bloody noses. That just wasn't a thing. But while the kids were there, he got a bloody nose. It's another thing to note that they had 4 cats, right? 3 of the cats were not happy. They were hissing at these kids. They were pissed off at these kids, and they didn't like them being there. The 4th cat just went away. Went and hid in the kitchen or something along those lines. Okay. Cats can be mean. I understand that. I've been a cat person my entire life, like I've already mentioned a few times in this episode alone. They don't like a lot of people. So that part I can kind of explain away, but it's also historically known that cats, not known, I guess, but it's historically thought that cats do have kind of a paranormal side to them where they can see things that we can't, and they're kind of in tune, and that kind of... Even the Egyptians, they worship cats because of that fact, or belief, I should say. Okay. So now, she sees their black eyes. And the kids say, can we go to the bathroom? She's weirded out still, because they do have pure black eyes. But she shows them where the bathroom is, or directs them to the bathroom, and they go. A few minutes pass, and she comes out of the bathroom. Hold on, my cats are screwing with me here. They both just jumped on the table as I'm talking about cats, so that's cool. But yeah, so the kids leave, and they come back out of the bathroom, and as they're standing in the hallway, the power goes out. Now, this is in the middle of the night. 2 weird kids are in your house. They have black eyes, all right? And pure black eyes, not just some, not just their pupils. The entire eyes are completely black. That's right there alone this is a ghost. I'm freaking the F out in my brain. But they're not. They're being cool still. They're holding it down. So now at this point, the power has gone out. And then right after the power goes out, the kids say, our parents are here. Okay. So then the kids walk through the house, then they go out the front door, the same door they came in. They go out the front door, and the door is wide open. They leave the door open, and they go to the car. And as they go to the car, the wife of the household goes to the window and looks, and there are two men, not two parents, not like a wife and a husband or a guy and a girl. Two men in all black clothing were standing by this vehicle as the kids jumped in it. The wife waves to the vehicle as a friendly person would. They do not wave back. They all get in the vehicle and they drive away. And then about a half hour later, the power comes back on. So let's rewind that for a second. That was a quick version of the story, but let's even slow it down a little bit or break it down. In the middle of the night, two little kids with pure black eyes knock on your door. They say their parents are coming. They come in. The power goes out. They leave when they say their parents are here. You get a bloody nose. The cats are afraid of them. And then they just creepily leave when another vehicle picks them up and the power is out. What the fuck is happening? Like, that is a whole lot to unravel there. But okay. And then they said about a half hour later, the power comes back on. Fine. Now, something to know, the story's not over. This isn't where it ends. The story continues. And with that, they said 3 of the 4 cats randomly disappeared. Gone. Ran away from the house. The 4th cat, they came home one day and they found the 4th cat dead in a bloody mess in the kitchen or living room somewhere in the house. I forget that detail. But they found the only remaining cat dead in their house when they came home. And then it's also something to note that the husband got sick with some kind of cancer. And I guess they said that he did recover from it, but out of nowhere, he got bloody noses and cancer after this event. You know, that's not a random, I mean, I guess it could be random, but to me, that is a hell of a coincidence. So what were they? What was the deal with that? You know what I mean? Like, and so my first instinct here is demons. That's just my go-to with creepy stuff like that. And I think demons is a good call. But, you know, what kind of demon? Are they really children? Or are they just demons pretending to be children? And my first instinct was demons pretending to be children because you were more likely to let children in distress in. They have to be let in. You're not going to let a creepy old-looking dude in your house, but you are more likely to let distressed children in your house, even if you're not acting all of that distressed, as these kids seem to not be doing. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird story, and that is the story that actually got me hooked on this subject. Okay, so that's one, and here is another. It's similar, but it's also different, if that makes sense. And this one I haven't heard or read as much, so I'm not going to remember it as well. But the story goes that a guy was sitting in his vehicle, and I don't remember if he was in the movie theater parking lot or if he was just parked near a movie theater, but there was a movie theater close by. And it was, I guess, evening. So not super early, not super late, just evening. And he was sitting in his vehicle doing something. And as he looked up, there were 2 children standing right by his window. He didn't see them approach. He just looked up and they were standing there. And they asked him, so he wrote on his window, and they asked him if he could lend them some money for the movie as they forgot their money at home. And he claimed that, 1, it was too late for that movie, as all the movies that night would have started at this point in time. So no. And then they asked if he would drive them home and let them in his vehicle. He said no. And at this point, he noticed that their eyes were again all black. So this part is the same. 2 young children, eyes completely black, trying to be let in this vehicle, his property. So he said no. And And the older of the two children at this point started getting aggravated and started to lash out, saying, I need to be let in your vehicle. Please bring me home. Please do this, or this. Agitated, begging basically to be let in at this point. The guy said no, and then he drove away. And that's where that story ends. So that one's not as dramatic, but still. I've been going to movies my entire life. I've been in small towns. I've been in bigger cities. Not once have I seen children panhandling near a movie theater. Not once have I seen children panhandling in a situation like that. And also, obviously, not once have I seen children with complete black eyes. But, that's a unique situation in itself, I would say. And I don't know what I would do in that scenario. Like, I don't know what I would do if a child knocked on my door in the middle of the night, or if a child was approaching me in my vehicle. I definitely won't let a kid in my car. That's a big no-no, just because I'm not going to be accused of kidnapping a child. So that one I could easily, I think, say no to. But the distress part of it, knocking on your house in the middle of the night, looking like you're beat up, looking like you've been in a car accident, or looking like you need help, it'd be hard to say no to that. Like, that would be the only scenario I think I would let them in. And I probably shouldn't have said that out loud, because one of the theories that I've read about black-eyed children is that they're more likely to appear if you know they exist. Which to me, I feel like is backwards. Because if you know they exist, you'd be more likely to say no to their let me in request. Right? So I feel like if I was a demon or an entity of some sort who was preying on folks who let me in, I would prey on people who don't know me. But apparently that's not the case. Some of the stories that I've read, they knew they existed already. And I feel like those stories may overtake the stories of those who don't know who they are. Is that a factual stat? I did not look it up. I did not do ratio, so I can't say that for a fact, but it's just a theory that I read. So I don't know. But yeah, so here's one more story for you. There was a guy who lived on a military base, and it was a guy and his girlfriend. They lived in an apartment, or it might have been a house, actually. Again, I don't have anything written down here. I'm just reading off the top of my head, or not reading, talking off the top of my head as I stare into a blank, turned off television. But so a guy lived on a military base with his girlfriend, and his neighborhood did have children who would kind of mess around and do hoodlum things. You know how kids be. But middle of the night, a kid knocked on his door and then ran away. Apparently he heard knocks a few times before he answered the door. Knocks of 3, he'd answer. Oh, I can talk, Jesus. He would answer the door and nobody would be there. And then finally he answered the door and there was a kid there. And this kid, as he described, looked homeless or raggedy or dirty. He didn't fit in with the rest of the kids in the neighborhood. But, whatever. And he looked at the kid and the kid said, "Can I come in?" The guy said, "No." "What are you doing? Do you need help? What can I do for you?" And that's basically where the story ends. There wasn't much to that one, but it's still the exact same scenario. So what are black-eyed children? I've already mentioned this once before, but what's the goal, I guess? That's what I want to kind of break down. I thought 3 stories would be good because it gives you the general idea. And I read a few other ones, and there's a few that could be, could not be. It could be a weird kid. It could not be a weird kid. But I only basically wanted to talk about the ones where they distinctly saw the kid's black eyes. Because you can't dispute that. You know what I mean? You could... And that's the problem I have with a lot of paranormal stories, is there's too much to dispute. So basically, any story that I saw that they weren't sure what the eyes looked like, I'm not even going to mess with. But what's the goal? So let's say the kids did get into that guy's car. What would they have done? Let's say this one kid would have gotten to that guy's house. What would have happened? Well, of those 3 stories, we saw what happened. They came in, bloody noses, power went out. They were picked up by something else that was older. So I feel like that story, which is the big story, to be fair, that story was where we see what happened. So, but okay, so what's the end game after that? We saw that the guy got bloody noses, cancer, a dead cat. But what do demons want? What do evil spirits or entities want? One answer is a soul, I guess, if you're talking about demon entities. But what does that mean? What does getting your soul even mean? You know what I mean? And how does me letting you into my house dictate my soul? But maybe that's not what they want. I have heard other stories where demons take your permission. You know, you say, yeah, you can hang out with me. Yeah, come in my house. They just hang out. They terrorize. They do evil, shitty things because demons are shitty, evil entities. Maybe that's it. Maybe these kids, they were let into the house and they are some kind of demon. And with that, they're able to terrorize this couple and fuck with their cats and give them cancer and that kind of stuff. And they're literally just doing it because they can. If that's the case, that's pretty fucking scary. But what if there was another goal? We just don't know what that goal is yet because one, we haven't seen it, or I just haven't found it in my very limited, quick research. Because I'm a terrible preparer when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. Or maybe it's a longer end game. If it is a soul thing, obviously you're not going to get that soul until that person dies. But how does that even make sense? Because you're not letting them into your soul, you're letting them into your house. So it's a different thing, you know what I mean? And that's where my head gets confused. And that's where I want to learn more about attachments and that kind of stuff. And I feel like regular ghost attachments are pretty easy to explain. Or maybe I already did when I just said they're doing evil, shitty things because they're evil, shitty entities. But I don't know. So let's say these kids got into that guy's car. Would that guy get a bloody nose? Would his car stall? Would he have cancer a few months later? Like, what would that be the same? Would that be differently? So I guess at the end of the day, I'm just now realizing I've only seen or heard or read one of these stories where they actually let the entity in. So are they kids? Are they young demons? Are they not demons at all? Are they something else? Are they poltergeist? Are they just a ghost? What would you classify these entities? I don't know. But what's also fascinating or interesting about the black-eyed phenomena is there is more black-eye phenomena than just black-eyed children. There are also doppelganger stories, or if I can talk, doppelganger stories regarding black-eyed people. This one, I wasn't going to talk about this as technically it's a different topic, but I'm thinking about it, so why not? So black-eyed doppelgangers. You guys know I listened to a show called Haunted AF, and this one kind of stuck with me. They had the person who experienced this story. He was on their show and told it. So I'm just going to recap real quick, but basically he was just a little kid. He was at his grandma's house. We all love our grandmas, right? And as she was upstairs doing her hair, she came down and she was acting funny. And he looked at her, and the grandma said to the son, I don't even remember exactly what she said, because again, I wasn't going to tell this story, but something along the lines of, will you let me in? And he said, and yeah, that's exactly what she said. Will you let me in? And he was thinking that she meant, do you love me? He was like, yeah, of course. And she was just acting different. And then she went outside and she was looking through windows, just being very not like his grandmother. And again, had pure black eyes. And a few minutes later, his grandmother came downstairs, his real grandmother, with her regular eyes. And that's pretty much where the story ends. They did all kinds of stuff, of ghost stuff to get rid of that entity or whatever. But so that's one story of a doppelganger. And again, my mindset or my brain goes to demon. That would absolutely, in my opinion, be a demon. And it's using something that you know or something that you do know to trick you into letting them in, into saying yes. For what purpose? I do not know. And there's another story that I heard actually on Josh's Scary Story podcast that very similar. A couple was camping and they saw a black-eyed person in the woods, and it just happened to be the same person who they rented that campsite from. They thought it was her. It's a very long story of them basically battling this old lady who they think is a person but has pure black eyes. they shot her. And as they were leaving, they actually saw the person that they rented the campsite from. So again, I feel like that would go into the same category as a demon trying to trick you. Which makes sense for that quest. And I say demon, but I don't know. It could be not a demon. It could be an entity. It could be a ghost. It could be something I have no idea what that is. What do you guys think? I really want feedback. I know I always ask for feedback, but I would love feedback. I would love to hear your opinions. And I would love to share your opinions on the show next week or in 2 weeks or whenever. So please send me up on social media, Facebook, TikTok. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I spend most of my time on Twitter. I'm not going to lie. It's just the easiest app to use. But you can also email me at paranormalaxepodcast. That's paranormalaxepodcast@gmail.com. Tell me your thoughts. And even if you want to talk about it, I'd love to bring you guys on and have a conversation about black-eyed children or black-eyed doppelgangers. I mean, they're different stories, but at the same time, they kind of, I feel like, are the same category, if that makes sense. My opinion, at the end of the day, I'm going to go with demon. I'm going with demon, who they need your permission to let them in to do whatever it is they want to do, whether it be try to get your soul, biblically speaking, whether it be just to be able to access you to cause you bodily harm in one way or another, or something completely different, something not even thinking of. I don't know. But that's my guess on what the black-eyed children are. And I encourage you guys, if you are interested in that topic, I'd go check them out, Google it. There's all kinds of Reddit stories. I went through a bunch yesterday. And again, the problem with Reddit is there's so much stuff anybody can submit, and a lot of them are kind of wish-washy. So it's just like I can't use that as a solid story. So, and if you guys do have your own personal, whether it be a black-eyed doppelganger, whether it be a black-eyed children's story, I'd love to hear them. So if you're hearing this and you have your own, contact me, and I'll love to have you on, and we'll do an episode about it. And we can share your story on the show. I'd love to do that. But yeah, guys, I think we're just over half an hour in, so that's going to go ahead and wrap up my solo episode. I'm sure you are all getting sick of hearing my voice. So to do a quick wrap up here, again, be sure to go to WTBdotcom. Paranormal Axetivities is a proud show there. And on WTBdotcom, we have awesome articles written by awesome writers. We have a whole network, basically, of live podcasts, pretty much Monday through Friday with Saturday and Sunday as well. I think there's actually 2 shows on Sunday. So yeah, basically we're 7 days a week. We got sports, football, wrestling, baseball, paranormal, true crime. A great show on there, the True Crime. The Shit Show, a half-assed true crime podcast. If I could talk, it'd be great. Good show, all kinds of stuff. So go there, check us out there. And again, guys, be sure to follow me on all of my social media, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I am still banned on Facebook. As of today, I am 6 days in. So in just 6 short days, I'll be back on the Facebook, and I will do all my updating. I gotta say, I haven't really missed it. I miss my page. I miss the Paranormal Activities page. But when it comes to like the social media aspect of it, I'm good. But yeah, that's just showing my age. So again, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Be sure to check everything out over at WTBuzz.com, all my social medias. And please, if you have a story you want to share, one thing I am doing right now is I'm looking for Bigfoot stories. I would love to share Bigfoot stories. I have none of my own. UFOs, I've never really seen. Bigfoot, I've never seen. So if you have a Bigfoot story, I want to do a similar episode for Bigfoot that I did for UFOs, where I have several people share their stories on one episode. I thought that was really fun for UFOs, and I want to do it again for Bigfoot. I have one story on its way. Actually, a What the Buzz member, Shiloh, can't wait to share her story. So yeah, guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap up Paranormal Activities. I hope you all enjoyed it, and let's just keep learning about the paranormal together.